I think it's so beautiful how Nancy Holt's work, Electrical System, lives and shines in the atrium. And you know that atrium is the English translation for Lichthof. So it's a court of light, if you would like to translate it like this. She was such a visionary artist, born in 1938. And then she made system works. From when on?
From the 1980s. But you could say, in a way, that she was always interested in systems. So she started in 1966 looking at the system of language. So what I really love about this work is that we're surrounded by something that's always here, but we don't normally see it. So normally in the Gropius Bau, always in the Gropius Bau, there's electricity coming through this space, but we pay no attention to it.
Right. So she really makes us pause and think about certain topics, like the resources we use.
Yeah.
There's this one quote by her that I love so much, which is her question, or you could say a statement of how can we become agents and not aggressors to the planet? And there we see again how visionary she was.
Completely. I mean, that's the kind of thing right now in 2024 that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And she was doing it already. I mean, in a way, it feels that now is Nancy Holt's time. And I sometimes like to think that maybe the times have changed simply because she needed them to. And I think something that's really important about this presentation here in the Gropius Bau is how low an energy footprint it has. So Nancy described this as being a functional artwork. And it is literally lighting the Gropius Bau. The lights have been turned off.
Yeah.
So it's doing its job.
Yes.
And its job is to light the place, but also to get us to think about light.
Yeah. Do you find it confusing? Do you want to understand the structure? Do you find to see the tunnels, so to say, to go through? Is there a way for me through, or do I want to get lost, or do I want to just stay here? I mean, I love lying down here, as you know. Just love lying at the floor, and now I have this sky of stars above me. And when you were just talking about electricity, I was thinking again, it was so beautifully to see all these electricians working and installing the piece, right? Because it is actually industrial material. It's welded as industrial pipes would be welded. And this is also something that really fascinates me on Nancy Holt's practice. This inviting in experts, and experts not in only an academia kind of way, you know, of like studied for years, anything, but an expert could be an expert in driving a truck, an expert on working with concrete, an electrician. And to have this non-hierarchical thinking, a certain generosity to include this knowledge, made it part of her work. I think this is also very contemporary. Should we maybe go into the exhibition and look at some more works?
Yes. So we're moving from that incredible fountain of light that is Electrical System, where Nancy Holt is using the circular motif of the light bulb. And here, locators with loci, this is part of a body of work where she began making sculpture. And there's something so wonderfully visual and physical about this.
And I'm looking through a tunnel, a circle, seeing a circle again.
And she called these seeing devices. So it's really about this sense of focusing vision, thinking about how we see, what we choose to see, what we ignore. And maybe Nancy Holt is really calling us to think not just about what we see, but how we see as well.
her interest in astrology we find also in many other works, right?
Well, I think with Nancy Holt, what's so interesting is she's interested equally in astrology as astronomy. So she's so interested in this intersection between belief systems and empirical scientific research. She was always thinking about this sense of how our planet is just a tiny speck in the universe, and it's relational. And perhaps that's something that really drew her to these ideas of the cosmos. It's relationships. It's about dialogues.
So, of course, makes us think about the title of the exhibition, Circles of Light. And I remember the moment when we were in a discussion and then we were like, Circles of Light? Because this is, we could say, a quote, an extract from one of her texts from 1973. I think it's beautiful and important to have Nancy Holt's voice and writing in the exhibition, because not only holds the title a lot of concepts of the works that we have here, with a lot of circles as a form, as a shape, but also metaphorically, and of course the light, as we also just saw in the atrium. But I think this, her writing practice always fascinated me, like why and how she was writing from the very beginning. First work, 1966, is a concrete poem. Not so many artists start with writing in the sense and then continue writing also as an artistic practice. It was much more than just a research tool.
And Sun Tunnels is an artwork that she made between 1973 and 1976. And she was such an incredible researcher.
Yeah.
So 73 is when she thought about the artwork, but it took her 3 years to bring it together. And we have these wonderful photo studies where you can see her thinking in space. So these were all made in 1975, and she's mapping out the constellations, space, really thinking about sight.
This is a film, Sun Tunnels. It's way more than documentation. It's this also interesting for an institution like how to show earthworks, right? We can't bring, unfortunately, all our visitors there. We certainly cannot bring the works here, but Nancy Holt gifted us with Sun Tunnels is so much more because she really understands the photography and the film and the drawings.
And I think in a way all of these artworks make Sun Tunnels mobile.
Right.
A room that, if you're allowed to have favorites, I think is one of my favorite artworks. This is Mirrors of Light, made in 1974. And it's so important to this exhibition because it embodies the core themes, light and the circle. And as we're walking in, you can see it's such a simple artwork. It comprises 10 mirrors, a spotlight, and then our presence.
So it's really light as material in a sense.
I think so. And in this work, to me, I really understand this as being a sculpture. Yeah. So she's making the immaterial nature of light something that becomes material. And also, in a way, it's like a movie because it's temporal. You can really see time. You can see us moving within it. It's a work that is activated when people come inside it. When we're not here, it sits really quietly. But when we're here, we interrupt it. We make it present. Should we go and have a look at these incredible works? So tell me, why is it one of your favorite works? Because I know right from the start, Clara, you were so set on this being in the exhibition, and I'm so happy it's in this exhibition.
It's an earthwork, a sandwork, So we show exhibition prints here. It's also from 1972. And it's basically just this tube stuck through a sand dune, and then it frames the horizon. You can look through both sides. And what's so beautiful with it is her thinking around ecological aspects of her work, which is also the title of one of her texts, where she also mentions this work, where she just says that she did over so many years, site responsive works, but it was so important how the site really responds in a way. And when she describes that Views to a Sentient, which is an important, very important work for her, she only realized it after she consulted an engineer, and the engineer said, yes, it's not harming the environment. On the contrary, it's slowing down the erosion of the sand dune.
Yes.
And I think this is why I like the work so much, because of course we have this locator in a way, how much it tells us about the relationship that she has with other experts, but also with the landscape and her sensitivity towards the resources and what we humans actually do to the landscape, even if it's only art and not a super mega hotel complex. This is, I think, why I love this work so much. It's so simple again, and it just makes my mind go in all these different directions.
So there's a circle, and on this side you can see the ocean. And I really like this detail here, that you can see footprints that people have been looking through. And then the next image here really shows the ocean. You can see the waves, you can see the light on the sea. You could dive into it. But if you look through it the other way, so here we have the shoreline and the ocean, and here we have the river, we have the sweet water. So it's the same location being looked at from different directions. Maybe that's something else she's asking us to do, to look differently at places, at sites. But of course, that's not right. It's not just about looking, it's about perceiving. So mumbling in the background is one of her visual sound zones, what she called poems in place. And of course, audio and the voice is one of your specialist subjects. And we've really brought Nancy Holt's voice in through quotations, through text, but also literally through her voice. So here, she is talking not to us, but with us.
With us, yeah. So she's basically describing what she sees. So it's also time travel again. And it's again this invitation to pause and think, what do I receive around me now in this moment?
And really at this moment, we're at the close of the exhibition, but her words draw you out and back into the atrium of the Gropius Bau, and you see this fountain of light, but maybe you see it differently than when you first arrived, because you've been thinking with Nancy Holt, and when you were describing, Clara, that visual sound zone, when she's talking about the electricity sockets, well, look, here we are again. And that's the magic of Nancy Holt.
Let's go in it again.